Hi, thanks for joining us here at Clear Lake Church of the Nazarene, Solomon's Porch Sunday School class, my small group that I'm a part of and I lead. We're going to continue our study today. We're in the book of Esther. We are in chapters 5 and 6. And to me, it's probably the most pivotal point of the book, most important part of the book. We get to really see God's hand at work. So here we go. Thanks for joining us.
I'm so glad you guys are here. I challenge you. I have a lot of reading I'm going to do today. And if you say, hey, I would like to read, just raise your hand, I'll let you. But we're going to be in the book of Esther, chapter 6 and 7, and I'm going to read every verse. We are going to read every verse. So, and I'll have it on the screen, but I've been told that sometimes it's hard to see. I give you permission to open your favorite way to look it up. Juanita has her classic, wonderful Bible. You may want to pull out your phone. I don't think you're on your phone playing solitaire or whatever it is you play nowadays if you want to read along, or you can just sit there and hope I don't mess the words up too bad. So that's where we're at this morning. We are going to continue our study this morning on Esther. So what did we do last time we met? Well, let's take a look. Last time we met, Esther invited the king and Mordecai to a banquet. You remember that? Invited. It was totally wrong. Excuse me. As soon as I said it, I said, that's not right. You didn't invite Mordecai. You invited Haman. Please ignore that. When the king asked what she wanted, she said, come to my next banquet and all will be told. Sorry, wrong name. Mordecai. Totally wrong. Here we go. This is where Mordecai is. Okay. Actually, it's still wrong. It's supposed to be Haman. So don't look at that. That's Haman, not Mordecai. Steve, thank you for watching. I have the wrong name. Steve, I know you're watching. I have the wrong name there. Wrong name. Haman then went home, bragged about how awesome he was to his friends and wife. Yet none of these things mattered because Mordecai, I got it right that time, Mordecai refused to bow to him. They said, hang him. His friends told him, hang Mordecai. Kill him. If he bothers you that much, kill him off and move on. You're second in command. That's what that whole conversation was. Y'all remember? So he had a gallows built that very night. So that's where we're at. That's what we left off with. So where are we at this week? Well, Esther chapter 6 starts out with this verse right here. That night, the king could not sleep. That night, the king could not sleep. So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this. How many of you have a hard time sleeping sometimes? You know, if I can't sleep, all I have to do is pull out my laptop and go look at some things I should be able to grading at school. 2 minutes, I'm out. 2 minutes. Give me some technical reading. I will fall asleep just sitting there doing it. I would be amiss to say yesterday when I was trying to put this lesson together, I was sitting here working and all of a sudden I found myself asleep. But that might have to do with the fact that I don't get enough sleep during the week. But I'm just saying, I start reading things, my brain starts to relax, and I start to drift, and the next thing I know I'm asleep. So the king is having a problem. He is struggling with sleep this week in our story. And so this is what took place. All right, here we go. That night, the king could not sleep. So one was commanded to bring the book of records of the Chronicles, and they were read before the king. So what does the king do to help him go to sleep? He brings out the book of records. On this date, so-and-so showed up. Y'all talked about this, and y'all did that. On this date, so-and-so shows up, and they talked about this, and we did that. Hopingly that would put him to sleep, right? That's the hope. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of, and I messed this name up last time, so I was calling him Big Thana, because I just think that's a fun way to say it. Big Thana and Cheresh, two of the king's eunuchs, the doorkeepers who had sought to lay hands on the king. Then the king said, what honor or dignity has been bestowed upon Mordecai for this? And the king's servants who attended him said, nothing had been done for him. Now, it's been a few weeks. I know it's been a while. But we actually mentioned this in our Sunday school lesson. Mordecai saved the king's life. He saved him. Hey, king, these two guys have a plot against you. King found out about it through Esther, I believe it was. That was a chain of command. He told Esther. Esther told the king. Next thing you know, yes, there was a plot. Those two guys were taken care of permanently. Life moved on. Nothing else was done. That was it. And at the time we went, I remember because I think I even said that. I wonder why. Because we've already read the story. We know what happens. If you're familiar with the book of Esther, you know exactly what happened, right? We were waiting till this moment for that plot to return to the story. We're waiting for this moment. So with that being said, do we see the miracle here? You see the miracle? What part of the Chronicles are being read? King can't sleep. Haman's going to show up and have Mordecai hung the next day. That's all of Haman's goal, to kill off Mordecai, because he doesn't like Mordecai. The night before, that very night, the king ends up hearing the Chronicles about who? About Mordecai. And what happens? What have we done for this guy? Well, nothing's been done for him, king. The guy who saved your life, we didn't do anything for him. There's a miracle that happened here. All of a sudden, something that was like, well, that's annoying, kind of trivial. I should have got a reward for recognizing the king. Suddenly, the guy that Haman wants to kill is suddenly front and center in a positive light in front of the king. That's a miracle. Was this chance? No, not a chance.
And this is between the two.
This is between the two banquets, the night of the banquet. And all of a sudden, here comes Mordecai, who Haman can't stand because Haman won't bow to Mordecai, won't bow to Haman. Mordecai. I keep flipping these names back. Honestly, I know the difference between Mordecai and Haman. I really do.
It's just like calling your chief.
But my brain is not connecting this morning. It's just, to me, it's amazing where we're at here. It's just, God is doing great things. Let's move on. I'm getting lost here, so let me get back on track. Esther 6:4-6. So the king said, who is in the court? Now, what happens if you show up in front of the king without his permission?
Yeah.
What could happen?
Could get killed.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. If the king doesn't point his scepter at you, you're out. So Haman's up early. He's excited. I'm going to get Mordecai. I'm finally going to fix him up. Today is the day. I'm going to go ask. Haman has just entered the outer court of the king's palace to suggest to the king, hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. The king's servants said to him, Haman is there standing in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in. The king asked him, what shall be done for the man whom the king delights to honor?
Strange how he phrased that.
Interesting. Now Haman thought in his heart, whom would the king like to honor more than me?
Especially since he elevated me to second.
That's right. I'm number 2 in command. The king loves me. I am the guy.
I'm the man.
I am the man. You got it. But you're right with me on this. The right-hand man of the king, the number 2 guy in the kingdom, he's the perfect person to suggest what should be done for the man for whom the king delights in. Because he's it. He's the man. Who else? I'm the it. There's nobody else in the kingdom the king likes more than me.
He doesn't know about the guy that had already been executed for the attempted.
Oh, he knows all that stuff.
And he doesn't know who was the person.
He knows, he's the right-hand man of the king. He knows all that stuff. He knows what's been going on. But see, he has his own world he's living in. He's living in his own circle over here. He's over here. It's not about the kingdom. Who's it about?
Me.
It's all about him. It's all about Haman. It's all about him. That's all that matters to him. All right, keep it moving here. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delights in, or delights to honor, let a royal robe be brought, which the king has worn, and a horse on which the king has ridden, which has a royal crest placed upon its head. Then let his robe and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that he may array the man with whom the king delights to honor. Then parade him on horseback to the city square and proclaim before him, thus shall it be to the man who the king delights to honor. Wow. Yeah, man, I'll tell you what. Can you imagine what Haman is seeing in his mind's eye? Can you just see Haman? Boy, I can just see me now. Here I am, being led by Prince so-and-so. And I never liked that guy anyhow. That guy, yeah, he's in the king's court. He's going to put me on a horseback. I get to wear the robe. I get to cruise around town. And they're going to say, look, here, that's in his mind's eye. That is what he sees, right? That is where his brain is at. One of my main sources here she said, Haman recommends these wonderful benefits for that person. A royal robe, a ride on a royal horse, already ridden by the king, so you know it's got to be good. The service of a noble prince, and the accompaniment throughout the city by a prince who announces his arrival. Haman could have suggested money, but that's not what Haman craves. He has money. He wants the respect and honor. Yeah, that's what he wants. None of this fills his bank account, but it does fill his ego. Okay? Now we could stop here. We could just say, hey, let's move forward. We don't like Haman, but a good Christian, I'm assuming that would be those of you sitting in this room this morning, a good Christian would pause a moment here and ask themselves this question. Ready? What am I seeking? The approval of man or the approval of God? We know the Sunday morning answer. What is the Sunday morning answer? The approval of God. But what is your true Monday morning action? What is our true Monday morning action? Is it to seek the approval of God? Or is it seek the approval of whatever I'm trying to fill into my hole? Whatever I'm trying to fill into my life? Where are we at here? A good Christian would ask that. So I hope you've asked that question. All right, moving forward, moving on. Esther 6:10 through 11. All right, here we go. Then the king said to Haman, hurry, take the robe and the horse, as you have suggested, and do so for Mordecai, who sits with the king's gate. Who's at the king's gate? Leave nothing undone of all you have spoken.
What?
Yeah, I could just see in Haman right here. Say what? All of Haman's schemes and dreams just went down the tubes. Everything that he had fought for, everything he had set up for himself, just went down the tubes because he's been appointed. Yeah, Dad, what you got?
That's kind of funny. The Purim is the Jewish observation of this.
Yeah.
And so the story of Esther is read at the synagogue.
Right.
You know, it's a central part of it. They do a festival, there's food and all kinds. But every time Haman's name is named, they boo it.
I can see it. It's perfect in every way. Boo.
It's such a great story. Can you imagine them telling this story year after year?
They're ready for it. They know it frontwards and backwards. They're going to boo it every time. I love that.
They bring noisemakers. Anytime Haman is named, they all make boo.
I would like to see that. I'd like to be part of that. That would be fun.
At least we don't know anybody who's named their child Haman.
That's true. I haven't heard anybody named Haman as of late. You're right. So back to our scriptures, verse 11. So Haman took the robe and the horse, arrayed Mordecai, and led him on horseback through the city square, and proclaimed before him, "Thou shalt be done to the man who the king delights to honor." So I was kind of thinking about this a little bit, and if you go back to Proverbs 16:18, now I could have used whatever version I wanted. I just chose to use the Message because I just thought it really poked it the best. It just really poked it the best. So here it is. First pride, then the crash. The bigger the ego, the harder the fall. I really thought Benjamin Franklin said that until I looked it up because I think he has his own version of that somewhere along. Haman, he was the man. And he was, literally. He literally was the man in the kingdom. He was number 2 to the king. He had all the power and all the riches. He could do literally whatever he wanted as long as it didn't get in the way of the king, and he was all right. He was good. But he didn't want to be just all right. I don't want to just be the number 2 guy. I want what I want. And so he began scheming to get what he wanted. Because remember, we've talked about this. I'm going to touch on it again for the lesson. He schemed to kill all the Jews. Every Jew that was in the nation. He hated Mordecai because Mordecai refused to bow down to him. He said, "Dude, you're not God. I'm not bowing down to you. I'm not going to do it. I refuse." And now his scheming plans have fallen apart. How does that apply to us? We'll see. I don't know. It may not apply at all. I hope it doesn't apply at all, actually. I hope that you and God are having conversations right now and he's saying, just hang on, listen to the story. We're good. All right. Esther 6:12 through 14. All right. Afterward, Mordecai went back to the king's gate because that's where he hung out. And he probably put back, remember we had a conversation, he's in mourning. So he's wearing sackcloth. He's not dressed up. He probably took his robes off, I'm guessing. Didn't say that. I'm just assuming. He took off his stuff and went back to the king's gate where he was stationed. But Haman hurried to his house, mourning with his head covered. When Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that happened to him, his wise men and his wife Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of Jewish descent, you will not prevail against him, but will surely fall before him. Last week we talked a little bit about this. Remember, he had his group of friends around, and rather than say, hey, dude, you got everything. Lay off Mordecai. You'll get him later. You have a plan. It will happen. No, they say, yeah, sure. Go ahead, build gallows for him. That's a great idea. This week, his very same friend, the next day, the very next day, his friends say, you're in trouble. You pushed the wrong buttons. You have pushed the wrong, you are beginning to fall. While they were still talking, the king's eunuchs came and hasted to bring Haman to the banquet which Esther had prepared. I actually kind of already said this, but I'll say it again. The same people who told him what he wanted to hear are now predicting his future. Yet there is no time to waste. A party that he's expected to be at is being thrown by the queen as he speaks. If you guys remember, she said, hey, king, they showed up to the first banquet, and she said, I love it that you're here. I want you to come tomorrow, and I'll tell you everything you want, why I've invited you to the banquet. At the time, if you don't know the story, you're like, why are you waiting? Put it to him now. Why are you going to wait 24 hours? And then we see what happens. King can't sleep. King randomly has a chapter or two chosen out of his chronicles of history. King realizes he didn't do anything for Mordecai. Haman shows up to stick it to Mordecai. King sticks it to King unknowingly sticks it to Haman by saying, you get to carry Mordecai around town. Now we're back at banquet number 2, and Mordecai has had no opportunity, Haman has had no opportunity to do anything about anything he's done. He is now going back to the very banquet that we all know the story. We know what's going to happen. He has had no chance to try to fix his problem. Now he gets to go to a banquet again. So let's see what happens at this wonderful banquet. Here we go. All right. This is a big one. Anybody want to read it? Volunteers?
So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther, the queen. And the king said again unto Esther, on the second day of the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the whole or half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so? And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
So here we go. The adversary, he shows up. They have a dinner. He goes, so what do you want, queen? I'll give you anything you want. We talked a little bit. He didn't really mean he's going to give her half the kingdom, but he would give her what she asked for if it was within reason. He goes, well, I just want my life. Huh? What do you mean you want your life? Well, I was unclear on a little 2-minute research I did on what she meant by saying being sold as a bondservant and all that. But basically what she said was, I would not have brought this to your attention if this wasn't such a big deal. I would have not have done it. That's what I that's my way high gathering from that. I wouldn't have brought this to your attention if it wasn't such a big deal, but all of my people and myself are going to be killed. And so how does she deal with that? Well, who is this guy? Who is this man? And she says, the adversary and enemy is the wicked Haman. Because just put yourself in Haman's position for a second. Just show up. All right, here you are. You're sitting in the banquet knowing full well that you're having a bad day. Say, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to fix this? Does he know that Esther is a Jew?
No. She's never
He has no clue. She didn't tell anybody. She kept it a secret.
Mordecai told her not to say.
As he did. She has kept it a secret here this whole time she's been the queen. And now he's sitting here going, what are you talking about? I'm having a bad day. Uh-oh. I mean, he's terrified, I'm sure. Here, let's keep going here. Let me jump over here. I'll just finish this set of scriptures. The adversary and the enemy is the wicked king Haman. So Haman was terrified before the king and the queen. Then the king arose in his wrath from the banquet of wine and went to the palace garden. But Haman stood before Queen Esther, pleading for his life, for he saw that evil was determined against him by the king. When the king returned from the palace garden to the palace of the to the place of the banquet of wine, Haman had fallen across the couch where Esther was. Then the king said, he was trying to say, please, queen, tell her, please. And the king walks in, and what does the king see? Not that. Well, then the king said, will he also assault the queen while I'm in the house? As the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. His guards came and covered his face. Now Harbon, one of the eunuchs, said to the king, look, the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman made for Mordecai, who spoke good on the king's behalf, is standing at the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him on it. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then the king's wrath subsided. I feel like if I was part of my favorite book series, The Lord of the Rings, Gandalf would say, and so ends the life of Haman. But he didn't say that. That's just me. So all of a sudden, here we are. So ends the life of Haman. His scheming, his throwing away of what he had. He had something good, and he could have probably rode that out forever, the rest of his life, if he'd have played his cards right, or at least a new king showed up. He blew it, all because of his self-interest, all because of how he thought about himself. So let's take a look at Haman for just a minute, and I did get his name right this time. That makes me happy. All right, so let's look at Haman. Haman gets a job as second in command of the kingdom. He is supposed to be looking out for the good of the king, right? What else do we know about Haman? The job goes to his head, and he thinks he's better than everyone. When Mordecai refuses to honor him by bowing to him, Haman devises a plan to kill all the Jews in the kingdom. His hatred of Mordecai is fueled by his wife and close friends to hang Mordecai. Rather than say, dude, just chill. You're in charge. He's one man. You can take care of him at a later date. They said, go ahead. Kill him off. You're tired of him. He's stealing your joy. In a sudden twist of events, he's forced to treat Mordecai with the same honor that he himself craved. Esther tells all to the king, and Haman ends up on the gallows he built for the one he hated. So my question to you is this. Have I missed anything?
Have you missed anything?
Have I missed anything about Haman?
Yes.
What did I miss about Haman?
His family, his country was overthrown by the Jews in war. And the king, his mother, was one of the people who was a survivor and went through the wilderness to find a new home. And he grew up with that hatred into him as a result of what happened with that.
That was Haman?
Yes.
I did not know that. I did not do that historical piece. That's interesting. At least he understands why, maybe. He has a reason for not liking him.
Yeah, he had.
But still, though, sometimes you got to put what you don't like aside for the betterment of you and your people, for betterment of you and your house. But he couldn't do it, could he? He couldn't separate. That's tough. Haman's a bad, he is the bad guy. I like how I'd already thought about that over and over again, that the booze. Every time I read his name, boo. He is the perfect bad guy for our story because he check marks all the lists. He check marks everything on the list. We don't want to be a Haman, do we? To set you up, by the way. Just want you to know. You just got set up. Just want you to know. Not really. You didn't get set up, but I'm going to come back to that in a second. All right, here we go. Mordecai raised Esther as his own, didn't he? Remember in the beginning, she didn't have a father, so he took her in as her own. Esther. Don't hate on me. I won't make you type up my lessons next. He guided her and counseled her as well as he could. He knew God. He knew what was best. He did what was right before God, and he was doing the best he could. He listened to God and refused to honor Haman as he felt God told him. He said, I cannot bow down to you like you want. I'm not going to do it. He dug his heels in because he knew, for reasons that are not written into this story, why he couldn't bow down. He spoke up and helped expose a plot against the king. Well, that's part of the story we kind of touched on today. He led the Jews to fast for Queen Esther when the time had come. So we have a guy who's doing his best to follow God no matter what, even to endanger of his own life. Not bowing to Mordecai is a big deal. Every time he does not bow to Mordecai, he knows that Mordecai could just, because he has that power. But he does not. He refuses to change course. He says, no, I want to do what God wants me to do. No man can change my mind. And he did what was right the best he could by God. He raised Esther when he didn't have to. He brought her in. It kind of ties into our study in the book of Ruth, by the way. We talked about that a long time ago. Doing what's right for family because God tells you to. He's doing everything he can to be a great leader. He's doing everything he can to be a great leader for Esther and his people and to follow God. That's his goal. He doesn't want to change that. All right? So hopefully I spelled it right this time. Let's keep moving forward. What does she do? Well, she listened to the counsel of Mordecai. We had that long conversation. Did she want to be part of this group, to go to the king, to be part of the pageant? We don't know. Probably not, but maybe so. There's no really definite answer. But she listened to Mordecai. He says, hey, take care of business. You're okay. But keep it a secret.
I got to think when he told her that if you don't do this, then God will bring another. You put in a place for such a time as this.
That does come into play. But in the very beginning, on the very first day we talked about it, on day one, we're like, did she get asked to be part of this? And she signed her name, say how to do it? Or was she like, you're a good-looking young lady, in you go. We don't know that part of the story. But she still listened to the counsel of Mordecai at that time when we talk about, that does come into play where, hey, if you don't step up, right? Because it says, when fearful for her life, I liked this, she fasted and she looked to God. She fasted and she looked for directions from God. That's what she did, right? That was her goal. Even when she could have died by going to the king without being called, she did what was right for her people. She literally put her life on the line. We talked about that. The king was wishy-washy. We don't know. At any moment, he could say, hey, I'm in a good mood. Come on in. Or he could say, I'm in a bad mood. You're dead. He already kicked his first queen out for not following directions. All right? We talked about that too. We've had that conversation. Because she was faithful to God, she exposes the plot of Haman, right? So I have some questions for us. Here we go. It's a long question. Actually, it's all 3 questions in one. How do we fit in the story? Well, some of us, I think, sitting in this room are like Mordecai. In fact, I think most of us, if not all of us, are probably more like Mordecai as I look around the room and just judge from y'all's fruits, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a positive. Some of us are like Mordecai. We have set our course on Christ and nothing will cause us to waver. Yes, we find ourselves sometimes we're walking and the Lord says, what are you doing over there? Come back here. And we say, yes, Lord, I'm back. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get distracted, right? Sometimes we find ourselves off course because in our walk, as all imperfect people will do, we find ourselves off course. But we have our eyes set on Christ. Honestly, some of us are like Esther at times. We are pushed into places we do not want to be. I'll let you fill in that blank. We are pushed into places we do not want to be. And things are asked of us that we do not like. We are scared. Yet deep down, we're going to see Christ. We're going to see Christ and do all it takes to follow his will. Sadly, some of us, or maybe some of us in our circle, there's some people in our circles. Maybe, they're connected to us. We have influence over. Sadly, some of us may be in the shoes of Haman. The world has our eye. We are seeking our own wants, not Christ. We will sacrifice everything to achieve what, and I put capital we in there, we want. Yet in the end, we see what happens. Will we let Christ come in and take over, or will we fall victim to the world? Mm-hmm. So those are my questions from what we studied. You have Mordecai, who is the example of a good man trying to do right no matter what, even, and I said not perfect just because I know we're humans. I myself have woken up and the Lord says, hey, I need you back. You let your eyes get distracted. Come back to me. And I think we all do that at times. Maybe we're kind of stuck in a place like Esther. We are in a position we do not want to be in. We're stuck in something that was, congratulations, the world pushed upon us. I was thinking about this when I thought about the story. The king here, to me, is the perfect example of the world. He's in charge. What he says goes. If he says tax the people are taxed. If he says give the people a break, the people get a break. You can't control the king. To me, he's life. He's just the big picture. It just happens. Did Esther want to be part of that queen? I don't know. It's just life. She want to be part of that pageant of virgins? I don't know. It was just part of her life. Congratulations. That's what the king wanted. It's just life. Some of us are like Esther. We're stuck in a place we don't want to be, and we're being asked things of us that we don't want to do. So what are we doing about it? Are we praying about it? Say, Lord, give me your best direction. Are we pulling in our Christian circle of friends? I wanted to throw that out there because Mordecai had a group of friends that said, sure, build the gallows. The next day he was hung on those gallows. Who is our circle? Or do we have people in our lives, or do we have Mordecai moments where we're like, oh no, I know what I should do, but I don't know. This is an interesting lesson because I always say this. Why would you show up at a Sunday school classroom at 9:30 or 10:18 when I need to hurry up and finish on a Sunday morning if your heart was not set out to seek Christ? I don't know. It's not like you're a children's Sunday school class where mom and dad dropped you off. You're here of your own account. Why are you here? Well, hopefully because you're seeking Christ's will. I do believe that there are Mordecais in our lives, Hamans in our lives. They're stuck here, and you have influence over those people. And God will give you the words and the skills and the ability to reach out to them and say, hey, I'm praying for you. I'm thinking of you. Listen, I know what you're doing, but the end is not positive. How can you, I'm trying to be a positive for you. You may be the only Mordecai in their life. You may be it. You may be the only person that can speak to them that will get their eyes back where they need to be. Or maybe for the first time where they should be. I don't know. Let's pray real quick. Lord, we love you. It's been a good lesson, even though I can't seem to get Mordecai and Haman's name straight. It's a good lesson. It's a good story. It's good facts. As always, I'm amazed that this story was written so long ago when Esther is celebrated in these feasts. And yet here we sit in Clear Lake Church of the Nazarene on a Sunday morning reviewing this, and we're able to take things and stick it into our hearts and our minds. As always, I ask you speak to the hearts of the folks sitting in this room, that something we said this morning will pierce their heart and either give us the joy of knowing that we're right where we need to be with that big, beautiful God hug that you can give us. Or maybe we're sitting here and you're saying to us, hey, we've been talking about this. Let's work on this. Whatever it is. Maybe, Lord, you put somebody in our hearts and minds that we need to go talk to, that we need to address and say, hey, I'm worried about you. Help us, Lord, to have the courage to do what we need to do. Help us, Lord, to do a good job for you today. And Lord, if we fail, it's okay. We can always revisit and come back to you again. We love you, Lord. You're a great God. Lord, be it for our up-and-coming service. This will be our pastor's last Sunday before he resumes his district-level duties. Bless him. Bless the service. Be it for musicians that have been practicing. We love you, Lord. Be it for our hearts and our minds. Help us to have what I always like to say, open hearts and quiet hands. So we're not fiddling with this and not fiddling with that, but we are literally focused in on you this morning. You're a great God. We love you. Amen. Appreciate y'all being here. We'll see. I thought I was going to finish the whole book this week. I should really look at my notes first and realize there's 2 more chapters. Maybe next week. Maybe.
Well, if you're still with me, thanks for watching. As I say all the time to anybody that listens, I hope you got something today. I hope God spoke to your heart. That's our goal. That's our goal here in our group. That's my goal when I lead these lessons, is that we get some help. We get some spiritual connection. We get some spiritual conversation with God. God bless. Hope to see you next time.